Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm Dr. Tylor. I am a chiropractor. So some of you are familiar with that, some of you are not, which is very cool. I practice, my office is called Potsense Chiropractic. I am the other side of Columbus. I'm between New Albany and Gahanna on North Hamilton Road. I have had the wonderful opportunity throughout my career to take care of day-old babies. My oldest patient was a 97-year-old woman. Moms, dads, of course, everything in between there. I've had really cool opportunities to take care of professional athletes in basketball, hockey, and football. But really, I enjoy taking care of, everyday normal people. And I say that because I love my job. I'm very passionate about it. I love sharing about health and healing and well-being. And every time I get a chance to, I get out in the community, and it's nice to be outside of the four walls of my office every once in a while. But I just love sharing about health. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got it broken down into 5 big factors of health. And then we're going to talk a little bit about chiropractic and why it can be a really cool tool for you guys to use. And then we're going to open it up for questions at the end. So I'll probably be about 15 minutes or so with my presentation. I've already got a volunteer, so we're taking care of there. And anything that you guys have questions about, if I could be a resource for you, excellent. I would love that. Okay. We're going to start it off here. I'm just going to have you guys shout out to me. What are some things that you guys think are important in our overall health? What do we think? Moving around. Absolutely. We'll just call this exercise. Critical piece of our overall well-being. And as a chiropractor, a lot of my focus is on the spine, right? So a big part of the spine, we have these little, in between here, these little shock absorber pads. They're kind of like the hydraulic systems on our car, right? And what they do is they absorb the force as we move around. One thing that's really important to keep these healthy over time is movement, exercise. So when we don't take care of these little shock absorber pads, they break down. This is what's called degenerative disc disease. And I'm just going to pass these around so you guys can see. This is a normal, healthy one, and this one's very bad. This one's pretty gnarly. Once it gets to this point, there's no hope of going backwards. But just for your guys's, and you can pass those around, and they'll end up somewhere up here eventually. Exercise, yes, very important. What else do we got? What else do we think is important in our overall health? Sleep, rest, absolutely. Rest. Here's a fun part about rest and sleep. Women actually need a lot more rest than men do. Women are a little bit more of a delicate hormonal balance than men. Men, we just need testosterone, we're good, we're pretty healthy. Women are a little bit more intricate than that. Women can actually get by about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Men can get by with 6 to 8 hours. My wife gets really mad at me because she's the one that has to feed the babies, right? So she's the one that's up all night. I get my 8 hours, I'm good to go, fresh for the morning. But yes, absolutely, sleep and rest is very important to our overall well-being. And we actually heal while we sleep. So if you don't sleep well, you will eventually have some problems that pop up with your health. What are some other things that we're nutrients, absolutely. I just call it fuel. We call it food. These are the raw materials that our bodies need in order to operate at a high level, right? We make the food and like water, the stuff that we drink and eat, we use that as raw materials. Our bodies break it down and we build new healthy tissue with that. I always joke with some of my patients, do you want your heart to be made out of cheeseburgers, or would you rather have it made out of, good healthy materials? I am not a nutritionist, so we're not going to dive too deep into fuel, but just know that what you're eating is either contributing to your body developing new healthy tissue, or it's not. And there's a balance in that we have to try to decipher and use to make ourselves super healthy. What else do we got, guys? What other health factors can we think of? Your mindset. I love it. I call it positive mental attitude, PMA. Okay. If you guys are not meditating for 30 minutes a day, keeping in mindfulness. I'm just kidding. No. Here's one that's really cool though that I learned about our mental attitude. You can just set them up front here. Thank you very much. Negative thoughts are actually 6 to 8 times more powerful than positive thoughts. So we have this negative here, 6 to 8 times more powerful. When we say things out loud, we give it 10 times more power than when we keep it to ourselves. So here's the key to keeping a positive mental attitude and overall healthy mindset is just don't say negative things out loud. It's that simple. When we think about a lot of things in our day-to-day lives that can stress us out, small things, right? Whether it's, for me, it was my drive here. I was like, is this guy going to hit me? Is he not? What's going on? Sometimes it's the weather. Some people get really upset about when it's cold out or it's raining. When we keep those thoughts to ourselves, we don't give them that power. But when we do say negative things, whether they're about ourselves or the conditions of the world, when we say it out loud, we give it 60 to 80 times more power over our lives than if we keep it to ourselves. So positive thinking is a great influence on our overall mindset. The last one here, and kind of the system that coordinates and controls all of these others, and this is actually the most overlooked aspect of our overall health, is actually our nervous system. And really what we want in my world, and this is what I work with, is we want a sound nervous system. We want your brain and the rest of your body to communicate at a very high level. When there's interference in that system, in that communication, negative things can pop up in terms of our health. We'll dive into a little bit more on the nervous system, but just know this: if your brain cannot properly communicate with, let's say, our heart, there's no way our heart can function at 100%, right? So we want this system to coordinate everything at 100%. Okay, I'm going to do a little aside here, and this is my wonderful opportunity to ask if we have a volunteer in the audience. Do you want to come up? Is that okay? Sure. Come on up here. Remind me your name. I'm so sorry. Katie. Tylor, once again, pleasure to meet you. Katie, are you okay with sharing some things about your health?
Sure.
Okay. What I want to do is I just want to check the bones of your spine, see how they're working, okay? And I don't want you to tell me anything. I'm just going to guess
Okay.
if there might be anything going on. Is that okay? Okay. I'm going to have you sit here. So this is a big part of what we do, okay? I'm just going to go hand to forehead here, and I'm going to start checking. And we're going to do little nods and little turns just like this, okay? So right away at the very top, do you feel how like your head doesn't really want to turn to the left side very well? Much easier to turn to the right. Do you get headaches ever? Sometimes? Do they start at when they pop up, do they start at the base of your skull and then they come around?
Yeah, like ears usually.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get down there too. So we have very top bone in her spine is rotated back on her right side, so she can't turn her head very well to the left. When we go down, C2 is very good, 3 is good, 4 is good. 5. Okay, now we're starting to get some stuff. C5 on the left. C6 is straight back. Do you hold a lot of your tension and stress in your shoulders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen like a cat when a dog walks by and they crouch up like this? Humans do that too. Okay, and typically a cat does it because the dog is dangerous to the cat, right? It's a stress response and it kind of curls up into a ball. It's in fight or flight mode. Have you guys heard that term before? Dogs actually usually make us pretty happy, right? So we don't do it necessarily to dogs, but our stressful things are like deadlines at work, financial stuff, things with our families. And that has a somatic response in our body. Our body reacts to that kind of stress. And for a lot of people, it shows up in the shoulders. Some people it shows up as tension in the face or the jaw. That's also a big one. But do you mind? Can we turn this way? Legs hanging off the side here. I'm going to sit behind you. Is that cool?
Yeah.
My leg might touch you like right here. Okay, is that cool?
Yeah.
So I'm going to move. I'm going to have you sit up nice and tall. Little lean to the left here. And we're just going to start checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. T6 on the left. Do you ever get like indigestion, stomach stuff that pops up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lower back too. From time to time. Does this get sore on you? Not really?
No, not really.
Cool. And that's all I've got. Thank you so much. So the question is, how did I know those things about her health? How did I know she gets headaches from time to time? How did I know she gets some indigestion or maybe some like heartburn? And it's because I'm checking the bones and I know where those nerves go in the body. Here's a little chart. So when these bones are out of place, this is where the different areas where they go in the body and some different symptoms that can pop up when they're in trouble. I'll leave this with you. We'll just pass that around again. The bone in the middle back, T6, the nerve goes down to the stomach. So if there's pressure on that nerve, the stomach's not going to be able to work as well. We're not going to digest our food as good. It might show up as heartburn or indigestion, something along those lines. So those, what we were talking about, we call those symptoms, right? Can anybody tell me what a symptom is? Like, can we define it?
The body's response
Yes.
to whatever's going on.
Yes. It's an indicator, right? It's an indicator, basically, of something wrong, right? Right here. Indicator of something wrong. What do you do when you have a headache?
Just kind of tough it out.
Tough it out. What do most people do? Well, we'll hit this. Most common symptom that people deal with, and most common thing people seek out help for, is pain, right? What would you guys say the vast majority of people, maybe your friends or family, do when something hurts them? Tylenol, right? Yeah. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, Motrin. Here's a fun fact about ibuprofen. Enough ibuprofen is taken in the U.S. alone every day for every child, every man, every woman to have 2.5 capsules of ibuprofen every single day. 60 tons in terms of weight. 200, what would that be? A ton is 2,000 pounds, so we're talking like 1.2 million pounds of Tylenol and ibuprofen and Motrin consumed in the United States every year. We have a little bit of a problem with this. When a symptom pops up, say pain, what do most people do? We go to somebody to talk about, right? Like a doctor, right? And what does the doctor do usually? Before that, they try to figure out what's going on with you. They give you what? A diagnosis, exactly. Oh, I'm on yellow now. We don't want that. A diagnosis basically tells us it's a collection of things that's telling us about the indicator. It's describing the symptoms that somebody is having. And then typically what a doctor does is they give one of, 60,000 named medications in response. And what the medication does typically, just like ibuprofen, is it covers up the indicator, right? It does absolutely nothing for the something wrong. And that's where I thrive, is I want to find out what exactly is going on. What is the something that's wrong? The pain or the symptom can show up in 100,000 different ways. Two people with the same exact problems will experience different symptoms, but they have the same thing going on. So my job as a chiropractor is always to find this in order to get rid of that, okay? And here's how this works, okay? And to kind of explain chiropractic, I'm going to have to go all the way back to the beginning, okay? And by the beginning, I mean at one point, each of us, we were a female cell, an egg, and a male cell, a sperm, right? And we all won at least one race in our lives. So congratulations to everybody. These two cells come together and they form a single-celled human, okay? And that cell divides and divides and divides. 4 cells become 16, then 32. And the first organ that develops in the human body is actually the brain. The brain eventually develops a little tail that comes off of it. It becomes the spinal cord, okay? And over time, as we watch this little human grow, eventually these little messengers, we'll call them nerves, they start coming down. They actually come down from one side of the body. They go out to the opposite. And we start to get something that resembles a human over time. Now, your brain is so important that it eventually becomes cased in bone, right? Our skull. And then, over time, we start to watch more little bundles of cells develop, and we start to get what we're called organs, right? At the end of these little messengers, maybe we get our heart, we get the kidneys, of course. Sorry about my drawing capacity. Maybe we get a lung, right? And that's where our organs form. So brain's kind of directing this show, developing these organs, and then over time we see not only does the brain get completely cased in bone, our spinal cord does too. And this is the spine. If you can imagine like a bunch of little I know we're talking about health, but I'm going to bring up donuts anyways, okay? A bunch of little donuts stacked on top of each other, that's what this looks like. And this is where I come in, okay? What will happen due to stress, when we're talking about these things, whether it's traumatic, whether it's toxins that we put into our body, whether it's our negative mental attitude, these things, these bones will shift out of position, okay? And when that happens, they put pressure on these little nerves here. At the University of Colorado, they did a study. What they did is they took one of these nerves, they found out that the electricity from the brain through the nerve will actually power a light bulb. And of course, they had a little computer out here that was kind of tracking the data. what they found when they put the weight of a dime on one of these nerves, 10 millimeters of mercury pressure. Just to put this in perspective, normal atmospheric pressure is over 300 millimeters of mercury pressure. So we have kind of a counter resistance that our body offers, but the weight of a dime, 10 cents on one of these nerves, causes the light bulb to dim 40%. So what did they do? They put another dime on there, 20 millimeters of mercury pressure. Causes it to fail 60%. Now still when we have 40% nerve pressure, we have 60% nerve pressure, this might not be enough for your body to develop a symptom yet. We still have 60% of the nerve working, we still have 40% of the nerve working. They found when they put 60 millimeters of mercury pressure, the light bulb went out 100%. Now this is emergency medicine. This is quadriplegic, somebody that has no electricity traveling through the nerve, there's no activation. This is not my domain, okay? I work on anything above that. And what I do as a chiropractor is typically we take x-rays to find out what's going on. A picture tells us, it gives us a very good idea of what's happening. We evaluate the spine just like we did. Check every single bone for proper position. And when we find these vertebrae are out of position, I very gently ease these bones back into place. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking those dimes off the nerve and allowing it to function at 100%. And what that allows is greater expressions of overall health. Of course, getting rid of pain. This is the easy part though. Most people respond very quickly and they experience less pain very quickly. As we get a greater expression of our nervous system, you start to notice some of the other benefits of high levels of health, like you sleep better, you have more energy, you don't get sick as often, your athletic performance is where it should be, you can focus better. And that's really where I thrive and what I like to do is help people feel their best all the time, especially when it counts. For most everyday people, like if you're out of work for a week, it's a big thing, right? We don't know how we're going to pay our bills. Our kids, our children, of course, they depend on us greatly. So for me, I get to work about 48 hours a week, but then I go home and work another 60 hours, you know, and my kids deserve the best of me at all times. So it's important that I show up not only for those 48 hours that I work in my office, but for those other 60 hours that I'm with my kids, you know. And that's all I got, guys. 5 factors of health: exercise, rest, fuel, positive mental attitude, then of course the controlling mechanism there, sound nervous system, very important. So I'm going to open up for questions here in just a moment. I want to thank you guys for spending your time with me. The greatest enemy of health is actually inaction. Okay, so I want to reward you guys that are here with me. If anybody would like to come to my office, see what's going on, see how myself and chiropractic might be able to help them, I will do it absolutely free. So I'll stay around for a few minutes afterwards for anybody that would like to schedule an appointment. I also got some gift certificates that I can give you guys as a thank you for coming out. And of course, now that you guys know a little bit more about what chiropractors do, would like to help you kind of see that through. Awesome. Thank you. A round of applause for our wonderful assistant. What questions might you guys have? Anything related to health? Anything related to our spines? Anything? Go ahead.
Why the people do like
Why does it do this? Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. I'm going to need that. So this is called degenerative disc disease. The number one reason why people have this, and I say this lovingly, is neglect. They neglect their spine for too long. When there's damage to the spine, it's going to break down faster than the rest of the spine. Okay. So like say I was in a car accident and I had a whiplash thing, I injured my neck. Now where that injury occurred, that area is going to break down faster than the rest of my spine. Okay. But this is really what this breaks down to is this has been out of position and not moving properly for a long period of time. When something's unstable, especially your spine that craves stability, if you look at this, it's kind of like little teeth coming together. Nothing would be more stable than a fused joint. Now this comes with its own set of consequences, but it is pretty miraculous what the human body can do. It will, this is like to protect the nervous system. But like I said, it comes with its own set of consequences. And mainly the reason why this develops so much in some people is because they've done nothing throughout their life to care for their spine. Great question. Yes, thank you. Yes.
I understand what happened and like that condition.
Yes.
But is it sometimes like this part of like aging and it's going to be like
There.
painful like that kind of things?
Absolutely.
How are you gonna protect to keep the good condition?
Yeah.
Is there any
Well,
so we can do?
all of this, right? There's thousands of different decisions that we can make in our everyday lives that will allow us to express greater levels of health. When it comes to something like this, we're talking like when there's damage to the spine, let's say, and I'm working with some. Now that stuff makes things a little bit more complicated, of course. It's harder to bring back, but we have different tools that we can use. Of course, chiropractic care, making sure it moves and works properly, will allow it to heal. But then we also have a service we call non-surgical spinal decompression, which kind of pulls the spine apart and it allows what's left of that disc to rehydrate and replenish and build back. But there's a number of different factors that cause this. Age is certainly one. Older people have a lot more of it than younger people. We can blame mom and dad too. There's a genetic component to it as well. There's lifestyle choices, all of this stuff. If you're a smoker for 40 years, your spine is not going to be as healthy as somebody that didn't smoke for 40 years. There's a lot of different components to it, of course. When it comes to my job is to take whatever damage is done in the spine and get it to work as best as possible. There's definitely a limitation of matter. This will never again look like this just because the damage has been done. But we can get it to look better than this, of course. Great question. Did that answer your question? Awesome. Yes?
What do you recommend for like sciatic nerve pain? Why does that?
Yeah. Number one, there's two main causes of sciatica, okay? Number one cause is actually a disc bulge or a disc herniation in the lower back. That's now the little nerves come out in between here, as you can see. When it's bulged or herniated, it's going to put pressure on that nerve. That's the number one cause. Number two cause is actually your pelvis. And your pelvis being torqued, there's a little muscle. Let me see. Let's put my artistic abilities to the test here, okay? In the lower back, we've got the bottom bone in the spine. We've got a little triangular sacrum bone. We've got our pelvis that kind of, see, this is where it's going to get, this is where I don't know how it's going to turn out. And then, of course, we have our leg here. There's a little muscle that connects the bottom of the pelvis, or excuse me, actually bottom of the sacrum to the hip here. And the sciatic nerve kind of comes down and travels right in between here. When the pelvis is twisted, it'll pull this muscle very tight, and it'll pinch the sciatic nerve right there as it goes down the leg. So a big part is like diagnosis. We've got to figure out where the nerve is pinched and why it's happening. But sciatica is like my bread and butter. I'm so good at solving it because we just take the pressure off the nerve, and then it'll over time it will heal. Yeah. So typically, and the thing with this is sometimes a little bit of movement in the spine can help take the pressure off. That movement will eliminate the inflammation. And that's why you see some people get better when they have sciatica at like a physical therapy office, because that movement of the spine allows us to push out the inflammation, takes the pressure off the nerve. I am a firm believer that if you can just move and exercise a problem away, it's not that big of a problem. You know what I mean? Really, when I come in is people that have had significant pressure on the nerve, and we have to physically move the bone to get the pressure off. Sometimes, same thing with the non-surgical spinal decompression, we'll take the pressure off the disc, allow the fluid to resorb back into it. Ms. Kemi knows about that as well. Great question, though. Yes?
Chiropractic is mainly the spine, right?
Yes.
So if like a wrist pain or knee pain, so those can be helped with the spine?
Absolutely. They certainly can.
So you don't do the directly to the wrist or leg?
And that's a yes. So when we talk about now, there's 28 places in the upper extremity where nerves can get trapped due to position of the bones. There's 17 in the lower extremity. So we can actually work on the bones of the wrist and the elbow and the shoulder, of course the spine, but we can work on really any body part. But the important thing is to find out where, like, what's actually wrong. Get a very accurate diagnosis. Sometimes I have people that have wrist problems and it shows up as shoulder pain. I have other people that have neck problems and it shows up as wrist pain. So the important part is that we do a really good exam and find out what exactly is going on. You were pointing to a shoulder.
I have so many problems.
Shoulders.
Especially back pain.
Back pain, of course. Have you done anything for it?
I try to, of course, exercise.
Yes.
And
You look like you eat very healthy also.
I try to.
Yeah.
I try to. But anyway, now I just realized that my mentally set up my alignment.
Yeah,
This is very important.
it is. Very.
I just realized just a few days ago.
Yeah, is very. The power of the human mind is so incredible. There's a very famous chiropractor. His name is Joe Dispenza. He was in an accident where he was riding a bike. He got rear-ended by a car, and he got sent through a windshield of a parked vehicle. He crushed like 7 bones in his spine. They said this man will never be able to walk again, barring some sort of major surgery. And he found out using his mind, because he couldn't move. He was stuck in like a semi-hospital bed for months without the ability to move his arms and legs. And he, knowing what he knows about chiropractic and the anatomy, he was meditating of sorts, and he was like using his mind and directing his body to rebuild those bones. rebuild the bones, and about 8 months later, he was walking again. Now he talks about his experience. He teaches people how to heal just using the power of their mind. He wrote a great book called "You Are the Placebo." Have you heard of placebo? It's like yeah, they can give people like a sugar pill and they'll heal naturally. In that book, he talks about how our minds have the power over our body, and really when there's a placebo effect, it's because our mind told our body to heal, and not so much that there was a medical intervention that caused that healing to occur. So very, very powerful. If you can master your mind, you have a lot of control over what happens in your body. And if you ever want to, I would love to have you visit the office, and we could just see what's going on and see how we can help. It'd be fantastic. What other questions might you guys have? I've got about 15 minutes before I have to leave, but you guys can kick me out whenever you'd like. Any other things that pop up health-wise? Yes.
You very young time so get some injured and bone is a little bit not correct location, just a little bit. Then so it's getting older, so it starts to pain sometimes,
Yeah.
So it can be fixed even long time.
Absolutely. Vast majority of the people that I see they've typically waited way too long to start doing something, because typically most people come to me when they have some sort of pain or symptom, right? And that comes back to this discussion where we were talking about pressure on the nerve. When there's 40% of the nerve working, it might not show up as a symptom. Typically, my best recommendation, what I do for my kids and my family, is that everybody has their spine checked once a week. Make sure that it's aligned and working properly. My first son was actually my youngest patient. I just did him about 20 minutes after he was born. His neck was twisted at birth. Research tells us 8 out of 10 kids have their necks twisted at birth. Do you guys have children? How many of you have children? So you guys know that you have children. The birth process is kind of traumatic, right? It's not a fun process. His birth was very difficult. They used suction cup to try to pull him out. So he was, he could have been a very bad situation. Of course, my youngest son, my newest son, he's 4 months old today, actually. Yeah. His birth was very smooth, done in about 40 minutes, but his neck was also twisted at birth. So even the most easy natural birth process can cause stress on a child's spine. So the best recommendation is to get your spine checked as quickly after birth as possible. The next best time is like now. Right? Get it checked now. But yeah, the cool thing, I build my reputation on helping people when I tell them I can help people, I always give very realistic expectations of outcomes. So when it comes to something that's been there for, maybe 20, 30 years, that's a little bit more of a challenge to get rid of. But I always like to keep everything in front of me from the standpoint of exactly what to expect. If I don't think I can help, I'm going to send you to my friends that I think can.
What type of manipulation do you do?
So, I've trained under a lot of people. We would call it diversified technique. I kind of do my own technique because I've taken pieces of training with others and kind of developed my own. I actually move bones though. Very gentle. A big part of my technique is making sure there's no like meningeal torsion. So there's like connective tissue that surrounds the spinal cord. And a lot of times, at least with the techniques that we were taught in school, there's a lot of this like bending and twisting to get a bone to move or click or pop, right? Which can in itself cause some issues as well. And you said that you upper cervical chiropractic care, no twisting, right? No significant bending. But I use my hands to move these, and then it's all done at ease. So there's like I was taught very early in my chiropractic training signs of meningeal torsion is what we call it, and it's pressure on the nervous system due to the way the spine's being bent or twisted, and we make sure we are unraveling that rather than causing more torsion in the system.
I've been to a chiropractor in the past where I don't know what the name of the type of tool is that they use, but it's kind of like a pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, like a little clicker,
Yeah.
pop, yes. Those are very cool and very powerful. They allow us to insert a force into somebody's spine that's very light, very, very targeted. The thing with me is I don't like to put an instrument between what I'm working on and my hand. I want to feel it, because I want to feel it move. I don't care about clicks and pops. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. They don't mean anything. I want to feel the bone move to the proper position. So I just use my hands. And I have a couple other tools that we use in the office, different therapies, get the spine moving, stretch the spine out, that sort of thing. You guys have any other questions? No, crickets. Perfect. Well, thank you guys again. Like I said, I'm going to stick around for a few minutes. If anybody would like to come out and try chiropractic, I would love to see you. I've also, Mr. Kemi, I'll just give you these gift certificates if anybody wants them. And if you guys have other questions that you'd like to ask me privately, I'll be around for a few minutes. And thank you guys so much for spending time out of your day with me. I'm very appreciative. And I wish you guys the best. And thank you, Akemi, for having me out. Yes.